is this, I mean, when I think about this and I think about what the president is potentially facing over the course of the next 6 months, he is clearly placing his own personal feelings ahead of potential political accomplishment if you're trying to get anything through Congress. Now, I guess there's a question of whether that matters at all to this president, who seems to be willing to do kind of whatever he feels like he's able to do. But that aside, in many ways, he's acting in a way that's against his own self-interest.
Yes, I think that's correct. That is an astute and accurate observation of the facts. I think look, first of all, it's a very common story with him. I think he probably saw some polling numbers that said he thought Paxton was going to win. Trump always wants to be Ferris Bueller. He sees a parade, he runs out in front of it and pretends that he's leading it, right? Okay. And so I think that's part of it. I also think he very much enjoys having the Republican caucus terrified of him. And he's on a streak with that, with the Indiana stuff and all the rest. And that is his mode. He's always would have preferred to be the head of the undisputed head of a rump party than the actual head of a majority party where he actually had to negotiate with other centers of power within the party. He wants to be unalloyed ruler of the Republicans, and right now, because of his power over primaries, he kind of is.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing about, I think he just enjoys it. He just personally likes it. He likes the fact that he's got the Republican caucus essentially running scared. He likes the fact that he knows that they're saying quietly to each other, what's he doing? This doesn't make sense. This isn't strategic. He views himself as above politics, beyond politics, however you want to define it. And he just likes being in charge. So I think we always try to apply some sort of strategic thinking to what Trump is doing. He just likes being the guy.
We're also not talking about the Strait of Hormuz, which is a
that too. That too.
Frankly, every president wants this power. Every president. No president looks at the Senate or looks at the House and says, "You people matter to me." They do this begrudgingly. So what this says, I think what this says is that Trump is master of his domain, and his domain is the Republican Party. And he fully owns the Republican Party. We've had this discussion over the previous months. At what point does his power abate, and do you have a breaking point with Republicans? Not today. That's for sure.
My point is he'd rather lose the seat than not have that.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Thomas Massie was not a part of the governing coalition in the House. He is a different character of this Congress than he was in previous Congress. He sits on the Rules Committee. He's been a problematic vote. The whole Congress.
Trump's not the only one that's glad to see him go,
yes.
I wouldn't say.
And it's complicated because Thomas is quite complicated. He's been a libertarian true believer. He represented that class of 2010 that came in that were the rabble-rousers, change-oriented, all this stuff. And he has, one of the greatest followers on Twitter, by the way, is Liam Donovan. He retweeted this thing from like 10 years ago. And the quote from Massie was, "All this time, I thought they were voting for libertarian Republicans, but after some soul searching, I realized that they voted for Rand and Ron and me in these primaries. They weren't voting for libertarian ideas. They were voting for the craziest, it's daytime TV, SOB in the race." And Donald Trump won best in class, as he had up until this point, he defined there. So the idea here is, how do you own the party? Trump owns the party. That is manifest here. And he doesn't care about the next 6 months of legislating because there's really not any legislating
But what does
left.
he get when he owns the party, right? I mean, I hate to beat this drum yet again, but what does he get when he owns the party? What he gets is no internal opposition,
adulation.
No guardrail. No, but it's not even adulation. That makes it like psychological. He, practically speaking, then gets to do things unopposed. And so this again mimics behavior of people who cannot stand dissent.
But I think, so I absolutely agree with that.
Lots of presidents have tolerated Arlen Specters and all sorts of...
barely.
If they thought they were going to lose the seat to Democrats.
But let's also remember this is happening in the closed circle of the Republican primary electorate, and it's going to look very different in November when he is at 37% and he is having to face independent voters and some Republican voters who are tired and frustrated.
I didn't say it was good for Republicans in the midterm. That's a separate conversation entirely.
Alyssa Farah-Griffin, I mean, you were around for the quote-unquote crazy SOBs that Congressman McHenry referenced. Jump in here.
Well, I like to remind people that, like, I worked for the Freedom Caucus a decade ago. Thomas Massie was to the right of the Freedom Caucus. He was, he is a very unique force. There's a lot at play with him. Listen, Epstein was certainly a factor, but this is someone who votes against all government funding bills, against all foreign aid, and in recent years has become, let's say, a dicey figure on his social media. This seat doesn't matter in the sense that whoever got the nomination was going to win because it's a safely Republican district. But what I would remind folks is Donald Trump is incredibly effective at primarying other Republicans in primaries. It's then winning general elections and midterms when he's not on the ballot that he's less effective at. And I want to do just a brief political in memoriam for you. Carrie Lake, Doug Mastrianos, Blake Masters, Mehmet Oz, Herschel Walker, Adam Laxalt, Tudor Dixon. He's less good when he's not carrying the top of the ticket and when he's going with people who are purely loyal to him over who are stronger general election candidates. John Cornyn is a stronger general election candidate.
Yeah, there's a huge, huge, huge difference between being able to control the outcome in a primary like this and being able to get somebody across the finish line in a general. Alyssa Fair-Griffin, always love having you. Thank you very much for being here. The rest of the panel is going to stand by.